Hello, my name is Lucas Verdor, and today I'll be talking about the Volkswagen emissions scandal and how this is a company that sits on the throne of deception and lies. And it all starts with the chairman, Ferdinand Pike, and CEO, Martin Winterkorn, who created one of the most toxic work environments that ever existed. They pushed the boundaries of possibility and ethical decision making. They held people's jobs over their heads just to cheat the system with a defeat device that could detect certain testing versus on the road. And it was referred to by some, this leadership, as a reign of terror. And with all this happening, they were still caught. They had to pay $30 billion, losing a third of their market cap. People resigned. People got jail time. So, can anything really be done? So, to prevent similar situations from happening again, shortcuts being taken, rules being bent, organizational morals and ethics out the window, they must do an entire restructure from the inside out. Before they can make any of the changes happen, it starts with upper management. It needs to be replaced with an entire new leadership to set new culture here it's currently embedded with a toxic workplace. New culture and values throughout this organization will be way more beneficial. And so a new addition is a better crisis management team. It was clearly lacking here. Bringing in a crisis management team would have helped and will certainly help prevent situations happening in the future. Now, with their reputation ruined and trust lost, they need to consider a rebrand. This can help get rid of that negative publicity that lingers around for years after. And lastly, they need to build their credibility by partnering with environmentally friendly organizations who can actually verify their actions are ethical. So going on to the issues that I found with the case. Fear-driven leadership. This is dictating, not leading. Winterkorn and Pike had created a culture, and every new product, every new innovation was based out of fear. People wondering if they weren't going to have their jobs next day if they couldn't figure it out. And multiple quoted that if you're not going to do it, it's off with your head, or I'll find someone else who can. Things of that nature being tossed around in the workplace. And what they wanted to do was sell 10 million cars, which was 4 million more than they had ever sold before. These ambitious goal, and they want to bring a new diesel car to the U.S. market, which is almost impossible. People didn't like that in the U.S. It's dirty, it's gross, it's more expensive than gas. It's a hard sell. So, moving on to the history of this company, from the origins, it's a history of deception. From Hitler being one of the first people in this company is never really a good thing, right? But his partner Porsche being involved with the Nazi Party, 1974 comes around, VW gets caught in their first emissions scandal, and now just the latest of the lies. Their second emissions scandal of creating this defeat device, the clean diesel. We'll explain what that is later on, and continued lying even after they got caught of withholding information that they said would be public and then didn't put it out there. It is a horrible situation that they got themselves in. And involvement on all levels. There was not a single person from the top down who didn't know about this. The CEO to the engineers, and they tried to blame not just the engineers, but nobody bought it for a single second, and rightfully so. Not the judge, not the public. They knew that this had to go more than just a couple of rogue engineers. And it wasn't until emails were released showing the communications between CEOs and managers and engineers explaining what was actually happening with this emission scandal, and it exposed one of the largest ones to date. So what was this defeat device? Well, it's more really software. You can see on the left here how it actually functioned. It could detect when it was in test mode and when it was on the road. When it was in test mode, it would trap that nitrogen oxide, those harmful toxins and emissions getting out there. But when it was on the road, it was later discovered they were putting out 40 times the legal U.S. limit out into the air. So they promoted clean diesel in the marketing campaigns. This was so premeditated. It wasn't just a diesel car. It was the most environmentally friendly diesel car you would ever imagine. It all on a throne of lies. And how were they caught? Well, they were caught on accident. Those meddling kids, right? 3 graduate students, just purely academic interest, doing a study on emissions out of cars. They were baffled to find these results of 40 times for VW, and honestly, they thought it was a mistake. But they still wanted to post their findings, but not even trying to call out the company. But did get the attention of the California Air Resources Board, also known as CARB, and they had to get involved, but they had good relations. They didn't think it was anything big, thought it was going to be quite simple. Little did they know this was a decade long in the making. So what did it cost? I mean, it cost a lot. You can see here the price of dishonesty. The first tip was when rumors were swirling around allegations. That big steep drop is when it finally came. They admitted that that they knew about it, that they were creating this defeat device, this cheating the system device. They lost a third of their market cap. 5 days after CEO Martin Winterkorn resigned, and others, I mean, 8 top level executives got resigned or jail time, 35 managers. This was huge. And they were forced to pay out $30 billion that went towards premature deaths around the world, environmental destruction, and recalls on the 11 million cars that were sold during around that decade. So this was all the credibility is gone, the trust gone. So what can Volkswagen do? Well, they have a few options here. So the first one, they need to change that leadership. There are clear issues with this organization from the very beginning. It is embedded into this toxic culture, and getting rid of just a couple of bad apples does not clear the bunch. You need to wipe it clean and bring in a new set, from CEOs to managers to engineers. And this will allow people to form a new image, a new belief and opinion of this company, and they can believe them because they tried saying they were going to change in the case, but nobody believed them, not at all. And why should they? From the origins with Hitler all the way to 1974 to now, there's no reason to believe them. So these new people will be able to help out with that image. Bringing in a new crisis management team is imperative. It was non-existent, really. This was the largest scandal ever with the least amount of preparation if they got caught. I mean, it's astonishing they didn't have anything prepared for if this came out. They just thought they were going to get away with it. And a crisis management team is necessary in basically every organization, especially global organizations that matter. So having it here certainly would have helped, but to make them bulletproof for the future, a crisis management team, a competent one, will be able to prevent this from happening in the future. Now, they should consider a rebrand because there's too much negative publicity lingering around. And if they decide to relaunch under a new name, the brand image of a smaller, more efficient company than the existing Volkswagen Group may improve. And it'll make it easier for the organization to accelerate efficiency projects and save money. Rebranding can be costly and hazardous, but it has potential to lessen that negative publicity. And all the negative publicity generated by the crisis. And now more than ever, research shows when it comes to consumer decisions, a company's reputation is the most important consideration. The last part is partnering with eco-friendly organizations. Now, this will be organizations like the Federal Trade Commission. Now, they're not environmentally friendly, but they are a company that combats behaviors that they were conducting of deception. And this will make the validation of their organization a whole new legitimacy to it. And customers will see that. Environmentally friendly organizations will see that, and they will want to partner with them, and it'll only validate their new company even more. So the combination of these four is a recipe for success for the future of Volkswagen. Thank you.